when a furious, high-profile socialite storms into Judge Caprio's courtroom acting untouchable. The air shifts. Cameras roll. Tension spikes. She believes money can bury truth, silence consequences, and crush anyone in her way. But today, she meets a judge who can't be bought. Only justice can decide her fate. The doors slammed open with a violent echo that made heads turn instantly. In the quiet, respectful rhythm of Judge Caprio's courtroom, the interruption felt like a lightning strike. And there she was, Veronica Hale, the kind of woman who lived her entire life being feared, envied, or obeyed. Wealth flowed from her like perfume. Diamonds flashed on every finger. Her coat, an absurdly expensive white fur, looked like it could purchase half the block outside. But it wasn't the luxury that froze the room, it was the anger. Her heels stabbed the floor like she was walking on the necks of everyone around her. Her jaw clenched so tightly the muscles trembled. Every step radiated the same message: I don't belong here. You people work for me. But the courtroom did not bend for her. Judge Frank Caprio watched her approach with calm, measured eyes, the kind that never flinched no matter who stood before him. Politicians, soldiers, mothers, the desperate, the arrogant, the broken. He had seen humanity in every possible shape. Yet something about her presence felt dangerous. Not physically, but morally. The kind of danger that comes when someone truly believes consequences do not apply. The bailiff announced her name sharply. Case of Veronica Hale, multiple citations, reckless endangerment, obstruction, verbal harassment of an officer. A ripple ran through the courtroom audience. Some recognized the name instantly. Veronica Hale, heiress to the Hale business empire. Known for charity galas and magazine covers, but also rumors of rage, intimidation, and the kind of influence that rewrote rules. She sat down without waiting to be told, slamming her purse on the table. Her attorney scrambled behind her, wiping sweat as if he'd been running to keep up with a wildfire. Judge Caprio cleared his throat gently. Ms. Hale, he began, you're charged with. I know what I'm charged with, she snapped. Let's just get this over with. I have events today. Important ones. The audience inhaled sharply. Her attorney pinched the bridge of his nose in silent agony. Judge Caprio didn't blink. In this courtroom, he said calmly, nothing is more important than the truth.
She scoffed loudly.
Yes, well, let's hope you understand who you're talking to. That line broke the room. A wave of whispers surged. Even the cameraman adjusted his angle, anticipating the moment. Judge Caprio leaned forward, voice low, firm. I understand exactly who I'm talking to, but I need to know if you do. A flicker of annoyance crossed her face, but only annoyance, not fear. She wasn't used to being spoken to like a normal citizen. Caprio continued. The police report says you nearly struck a pedestrian while speeding around a corner at night. When stopped, you berated the officer for 5 straight minutes, refusing to provide identification, calling him an idiot, she interrupted proudly. Because he was. And threatening to have him fired. That too. The judge paused, letting the silence expand. Ms. Hale, are you aware that your actions could have seriously injured someone? She rolled her eyes. No one got hurt. And frankly, I don't appreciate being dragged into court like a criminal when I donate more to this city than half the people sitting here. The entitlement hit the room like a slap. Caprio folded his hands. Your philanthropy does not excuse dangerous behavior. Her smile sharpened. It does when I decide it does. The temperature in the room dropped. She was pushing, testing, trying to see if the courtroom would bend. Caprio finally asked, do you understand why this hearing is serious? She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, expression icy. What I understand is that this entire situation is beneath me. It was a declaration of war, and everyone felt it. Her attorney whispered desperately, Veronica, please, but she cut him off.
No.
I refuse to be lectured by some municipal judge while real criminals walk free. Caprio didn't react. He simply reached for the file in front of him and opened to the second page. Ms. Hale, he said quietly, there is video. That stopped her. For the first time, her mask trembled. The lights dimmed slightly as the courtroom monitor switched on. The footage began. Nighttime street, headlights swerving, a figure jumping back to avoid being hit. The camera zoomed. Her car, her anger,
Her shouting.
and her voice screaming, "Do you know who I am? I could ruin you." The courtroom recoiled. Some gasped. Others shook their heads. Veronica's face went red. Anger, embarrassment, something darker. "That video is taken out of context," she barked. "It shows your actions clearly," Caprio replied. "No. What it shows is a cop provoking me." Judge Caprio closed the file slowly. "Ms. Hale, what exactly do you believe gives you the right to threaten people?" She stared back at him. Hard, cold, defiant. "Power," she said simply. "The kind you don't have." Her attorney nearly fainted. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Caprio exhaled a single, controlled breath. He was no longer just concerned. He was disappointed. "Ms. Hale," he said softly, "you may be used to power. But here, the only authority is justice. And justice does not bow." For the first time, Veronica's eyes flickered with something new: fear? Respect? Possibly both. But quickly she smothered the emotion, rebuilding her anger like armor. "Then let justice hurry up," she hissed. "I'm bored." Judge Caprio tapped his pen once, a sign of deep thought. "Then I believe," he said, "we're going to need more than one hearing. There are inconsistencies that require further examination." Her jaw tightened. She wasn't used to losing, especially not control. Part 1 ends with her staring at the judge like she's plotting her next move, and Caprio quietly preparing for a storm. The courtroom felt colder when Part 2 resumed. The energy around Veronica Hale had changed. Not softer, not humbled, but sharpened like a blade. She sat stone still, chin raised, her fury now calculated instead of explosive. She was planning something. Everyone could feel it. Judge Caprio took a seat. "Ms. Hale, we're continuing your case today with new evidence submitted by the pedestrian involved."
She scoffed.
"Oh God, they're still pretending they were in danger." "They were inches from being struck," Caprio stated. "Their testimony matters. People exaggerate for attention, especially when my name is involved." Caprio raised an eyebrow. "Your name seems to carry both privilege and chaos." She smirked. "Chaos only for those who get in my way." A rustle of discomfort swept the room. "Bring in the pedestrian," Caprio instructed. A woman entered, mid-40s, modest clothes, trembling slightly. Veronica watched her like a predator analyzing prey. "State your name," Caprio said. "Linda Morales." "And you are the pedestrian in question?" "Yes, Your Honor." Veronica leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "You were nowhere near my car." Linda swallowed. "Ma'am, I jumped back or I would have been hit." "You jumped because you're dramatic," Veronica snapped. "Some people love pretending to be victims." Linda's voice cracked. "I was scared for my life." Veronica laughed. A cold, piercing sound. "If that scared you, you shouldn't be allowed outside." The courtroom shifted uncomfortably. Judge Caprio intervened. "Ms. Hale, you will not belittle a witness." "She's lying." Caprio opened a folder. Ms. Morales submitted additional footage. The screen lit up again. A security camera from a store across the street. This angle was worse, clearer, undeniable. The vehicle sped. Linda's panic was visible. But the twist came next. Audio. "Officer. Ma'am, please calm down." "Veronica, I don't calm down for anyone below my pay grade." "Officer. You nearly hit her." "Veronica, if she stepped in my way, that's her problem."
The room gasped.
Even Veronica's attorney put his head in his hands. Veronica's face turned scarlet. Not shame, anger at being exposed. Caprio studied her silently. Then, "Ms. Hale, that statement alone shows reckless disregard for human safety." She slammed her palm on the table. "I don't care what it shows." Her voice echoed like a thunderclap. Caprio remained unmoved. "Ms. Morales, Did Ms. Hale approach you after the incident? Linda hesitated. Yes, she yelled at me. Veronica leaned back because she wouldn't stop screaming. Linda shook her head. I didn't scream. I just said she almost hit me. And she said. Caprio asked gently. What did she say? Linda wiped a tear. She said, people like you need to learn to move when someone important is coming. The room froze. Caprio turned slowly to Veronica. Is that true? Veronica lifted her chin.
Yes.
Because it was her fault. The courtroom erupted, shock, disbelief, anger. Caprio raised his hand, restoring silence. Ms. Hale, he said sternly, your attitude is turning a dangerous incident into a crisis of character. She shrugged. I'm not here to impress you. No, he replied. You're here to face accountability. She chuckled darkly. Accountability is for people with nothing. I have everything. The judge let her words hang in the air. Then came the second twist. Caprio opened a sealed envelope. Ms. Hale, another report was submitted this morning from your company's chauffeur. Her eyes snapped to the judge. What? He wishes to testify.
No.
Absolutely not. Caprio nodded to the bailiff. Bring him in. The door opened. A man in his 50s, humble suit, timid posture. Veronica went rigid. Her eyes burned into him like daggers. State your name, Caprio said. Hector Rivera. And your role. I'm Ms. Hale's primary driver. Veronica hissed under her breath. You traitor. Caprio continued. Mr. Rivera, you submitted a statement claiming Ms. Hale had been drinking that night. The courtroom exploded with murmurs. Veronica's face drained of color. He's lying. Caprio raised a hand for silence. Mr. Rivera explained. Hector took a shaky breath. She had several glasses of wine before insisting she would drive herself. I begged her not to. She yelled. She fired me on the spot. I followed because I feared she'd hurt someone. Veronica erupted. This is slander. Her voice cracked, panic breaking through anger. Caprio remained calm. Mr. Rivera, did she seem impaired? Yes, Your Honor. And did you witness the near collision? Yes. Why didn't you report earlier? He looked at Veronica. Fear, history, intimidation. Because she told me she would destroy my family if I ever disobeyed her.
Gasps.
Shockwaves. The courtroom leaned forward as one. Veronica stood violently, chair screeching. He's making this up.
He's a nobody.
A nothing. Judge Caprio's voice dropped to a cold, resonant level. Ms. Hale, SIT down. The command echoed. For a moment she froze. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Slowly, shaking with rage, she sat. Caprio turned to Hector. Thank you for your courage. Veronica whispered, barely audible but venomous. You'll pay for this. Caprio heard it. Ms. Hale, he said, threatening a witness in my courtroom is a separate offense. She looked up at him, and for the first time, she looked afraid. Part 2 ends with the audience realizing this case has crossed from arrogance into something darker, power used as a weapon. The final hearing drew a crowd so large the hallways overflowed. News cameras lined the building. The trial of Veronica Hale, the wealthy woman who seemed allergic to accountability, had become a symbol of something bigger. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Veronica entered last. Gone was the flawless hair. Gone was the unshakable confidence. Her clothes were still expensive, but her posture had changed. Tension gripped her shoulders. Her eyes were restless, scanning the room like a cornered predator deciding whether to pounce or run. Her arrogance hadn't vanished, but it had cracked. Judge Caprio entered. The room fell silent. Ms. Hale, he began. Today we conclude this hearing. Her fingers tapped anxiously on the table.
Good.
Let's end this circus. Caprio opened a folder thick with evidence. In the last hearings, we reviewed video footage, witness testimony, statements from your former employee, and additional reports submitted after the previous session. Veronica sneered. All exaggerated. all biased. Caprio ignored the comment. Before I issue judgment, I will allow you to speak. She stood abruptly. Finally, her attorney tried to stop her, but she pulled her arm away. Let me be perfectly clear, she said loudly, scanning the room with disdain. This entire situation is blown out of proportion by people who don't understand what it means to be successful. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't hit anyone. I didn't commit a crime. I simply refuse to let some underpaid officer or whiny pedestrian treat me like garbage. I have earned respect. I demand it. And if people are offended by confidence, that's not my problem. The silence in the room was suffocating. Caprio waited. 1 second.
2.
3. Then he spoke. Miss Hale, success is not a license to endanger others. She rolled her eyes dramatically. He continued. You showed reckless disregard for human life. You verbally abused an officer. You attempted to intimidate a pedestrian. You threatened a witness. And, according to testimony, you were driving while impaired. She opened her mouth, but he held up his hand. I let many people speak in this courtroom. I listen. I give grace. But I cannot give grace to someone who shows no remorse, no accountability, and no understanding of the danger they caused. Veronica clenched her teeth. Caprio leaned forward. His voice turned heavy, resolute. Therefore, I am issuing the following judgment. The room tensed. Ms. Hale, you will be charged with reckless endangerment, harassment, obstruction, and witness intimidation. She froze, shock breaking through her rage. In addition, your license will be suspended for 1 year. No, she yelled. You can't. I can, he replied firmly, and I must. Her hands shook. Her eyes darted around the room, panicked, searching for someone, anyone, to save her. Caprio continued. You will also complete a mandatory rehabilitation program, anger management classes, and community service with victims of traffic incidents. This is not punishment. It is needed correction. Veronica's lips trembled. The mask was breaking. And finally, he said gently, you owe Ms. Morales an apology. Her chest heaved. I don't apologize. Caprio looked at her sadly. That, Ms. Hale, may be the very root of this entire situation. For a moment, just one, Veronica's eyes glossed with something raw, something human. Fear or realization. Linda Morales stood nervously. Veronica stared at her, and the courtroom watched a war inside her. Ego versus truth. She exhaled shakily. Fine, she muttered. I'm sorry. Not perfect. Not graceful. But real. Linda nodded gently. And for the first time, the courtroom felt a shift.
A release.
Caprio closed the hearing with steady authority. Justice is not about destroying lives, he said. It is about guiding them back to the right path. Veronica sank into her seat, anger drained, shoulders heavy with consequences she never imagined she'd face. The era of her untouchable power was over, and the courtroom applauded, not loudly, not mockingly, but with the relief of watching the scales of justice finally balance. If this courtroom showdown gripped you, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the next shocking real-life case. More twists, more drama, more justice coming your way. Hit the bell, share the video, and stay locked in because the next story might be even more explosive than this one. Justice continues, don't miss it.